Okay, Mountain Ghost 5x6. So I'm going to go over different types of line and ropes and cordage. I'm going to start off with something interesting. Somebody asked me one time, why do you keep that nasty old looking thing in your ropes bag? And I told him, I said, well, what if you just come across this thing right here? This old line. And this is the only thing you have to work with. As you can see right here, it has imperfections. Let's see. Right there. I'm going to focus in on it. Probably not. Small imperfections with pulls and stuff. And this is the only thing you have. You know, it's kinked up, it's dirty, it's not the best line, and at the end of it, you might run into something like that. So, I keep this in there to challenge me. Okay? It's really good to challenge yourself, especially when you're working with knots, because you could be cold, you could be tired, it could be dark, and you're having to set up a shelter, you're mountaineering, you get into a rescue situation. You know, not everything's going to go the way you want it to. So I always keep something that's going to give me a challenge when I'm tying knots. And trust me, this thing's a very challenging creature. Okay, now everybody knows the 550 cord. Okay, I'm showing you the different types of cordage and ropes and line that I use because it does matter. It does matter when you're tying certain things together. Let's say, for instance, I want to tie a fisherman's knot in this. It's not as easy as one must think versus tying it in this. So you're going to use a bit more dexterity tying certain knots in this than you will this or even this accessory line right here. So the diameter of the line or the cord or the rope you're using really does make a difference when you're tying knots because they have different behavior characteristics. So you want to keep a selection of different types of cords, line, and rope in your training aids so you can basically get a feel for it. Now, here's the other thing is when joining ropes, line, or cordage, there's certain knots that go along to tying those two together. Smaller diameter line tied to a larger diameter rope has different types of knots. You can pretty much use a certain type of knot on this one, but when you put these together, you're going to have to use a totally different knot for that. So then I have here a dedicated prusik, which in itself has a different type of diameter. As you can see here, the diameters are differing between all these. These are all different diameter line, rope. Oh yeah, I forgot this one. It's not hard. It's ugly. As you can see, I think the 550 cord and the dog rope, or dog line, or dog cord I call it, is almost the same, but they have a different texture. Every one of these types of cordage, line, rope have also different textures to them. That also has a outcome on your knot tying, believe it or not. Okay, so you want a variety of different types of cordage and line in your knot tying training aids because it just makes sense. You're not going to run into the same type, and the more knots you get into, rope behaves differently with each knot. Another thing that people don't talk about, using webbing. This is a 1-inch tubular webbing. I use this for my hammock. This has also been retired. This is something I think a lot of people neglect to carry with them, is webbing. If you have up-to-date webbing that's up to standard and it's in good condition, then I would carry at least 25 feet of good 1-inch tubular webbing with you. It can make seats. It can make harnesses for extracting people. It can make straps for your hammock. It's just a really good item to have with you that's, I think, overlooked by a lot of people. But that's just my opinion. So to recap that, you want different types of line, cordage, and rope. One of the other things you want is different colors. So you can see how your rope, line, or cordage actually makes the knot so you can contrast between. This is a bad example of using the same color rope. You don't get to see the knot as clear as if I was to take this, put it around here, and tie it like that. See? You can clearly see how that knot functions and its design. So that species of knot right there is clearly seen in contrast to the black. So that's why you want different color cordage, twine, and a rope is so you can see the difference in the knot species that you're tying. Okay, so that should just about cover why I have different diameters of rope, twine, and cordage, because they have different behaviors when tying to each other, and they require special knots.